The Revenant episode is finally here in Destiny 2, and I've had the opportunity to get through the story, max out the artifact to get all the perk bonuses, and complete the new Vesper's host dungeon on contest mode, which was very challenging, but also pretty fun. And since we've done all that, it's time to dive into build testing and give you guys some of the best builds in the game. And the one I'm about to give you is a certified Stasis Hunter Classic, and it's going to dominate whatever you decide to do, and it pairs well with the artifact. Let's not waste any time and dive right into it. The exotic you're looking for are the exotic gauntlets, the Renewal Grasps. With the perk Depths of Dustfield, your Dustfield grenades have a much larger effect radius. Allies inside the Dustfield gain frost armor, and targets inside the area deal reduced damage. Now note, you can get the exotic class item with the Spirit of Renewal perk. It's a little bit weaker. It doesn't spawn a stasis crystal like it does with the base exotic, and we are going to be taking advantage of stasis crystal, so I would recommend the base exotic for this. The exotic class item isn't absolutely necessary, but if you can get a decent roll on it, you can potentially use it here. Now, diving into the subclass, I'm actually going to give you a Prismatic and a Stasis setup for this. Personally, I like Prismatic just a little bit more because I have a lot more build options, and also Transcendence allows me to use the special grenade and pretty much just spam my abilities. It's really great for crowd control, but I am going to give you both. Under Prismatic, for my super, I'm going with Silence and Squall. Again, that's going to be really good for crowd control. For abilities, I like Gambler's Dodge, so when I dodge near target, I'll get my melee back. For movement, I like Triple Jump, but you can use what you like. For the melee, I'm going with Withering Blade. Now, these do slow targets, and you do get 2 of these melees, which is nice. And then, obviously, for the grenade, we're going with Dustfield. For our aspects, first up, I'm going with Winter's Shroud. So, dodging slows nearby targets, and slowing targets briefly increases your class ability regeneration. So, any slow from our abilities is still going to help our class ability. And for the second aspect, I prefer Gunpowder Gamble. I know a lot of people would say Stylus Executioner, so you can go invisible, but you do lose out on 1 fragment slot here. And to be honest with this build, it's not necessary to be able to go invisible for survivability purposes. You're going to be spamming your abilities and your weapons anyway. You might as well not even care about going invisible, and you're not going to take advantage of the weaken on the melee. So, with Gunpowder Gamble, defeat targets with abilities, elemental debuff damage, or solar weapons to charge up an improvised explosive. And then once it's charged, you can press your grenade button, it'll throw the explosive, and you can shoot it in midair, and it causes an ignition, which can stop unstoppable champions. The main thing with this is that a lot of targets on the field are going to be affected by the slow debuff or any type of debuff from your weapons, freeze, stuff like that. You can get Gunpowder Gamble very quickly with this. For my fragments, first up with Faceted Balance. If I get rapid light damage final blows, it gives me melee energy, and with darkness damage final blows, it gives me grenade energy, so I can have my abilities back quicker. Next, with Faceted Hope, while you have an elemental buff, doesn't matter what it is, light or dark, your class ability regenerates more quickly, which means we can have the dodge more, which means we can have the melee more often. Next, with Faceted Command, freezing or suppressing a target reloads your equipped weapons and increases weapon stability, aim assist, and airborne effectiveness. The main thing here is freezing targets, and then defeating frozen or suppressed targets creates a stasis shard or a void breach. Obviously, the big thing here is creating the stasis shard, and that's going to lead into the artifact, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Next, Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits against targets makes you radiant. Powered melee final blows makes you and nearby allies radiant. It is a -10 to strength, but the main thing with this is that since we don't have a radiant thing on the artifact like we did last season, having radiant, getting the free damage buff, popping anti-barrier champions, this is going to be very nice. And then Faceted Protection. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. While Transcendent, the effect is increased. That's a +10 to strength. And then Facet of Purpose. So when you pick up an Orb of Power, it's going to give you a buff based upon the super that you're using. And in this case, we're using Silence and Squall, which means we can get stacks of Frost Armor, which is going to help with our damage resistance. Now, under the Stasis subclass, we do have some very similar things, especially with Gambler's Dodge, Triple Jump, Withering Blade, and the Dustfield Grenade. For our aspects, number 1, I'm using Grim Harvest. So defeating slow to frozen targets creates stasis shards. These shards grant melee energy when picked up by you and your allies. While Grim Harvest is equipped, picking up stasis shards grants stacks of Frost Armor. So not only are we creating stasis shards, which will lead into the artifact, but also we can get melee energy and Frost Armor. The second aspect I'm using is Touch of Winter. So this is going to give a bonus to our stasis grenades. For the dust field, it increases the slow field size and creates a small stasis crystal on impact. So not only can we freeze targets immediately if we hit them with the dust field, it also creates a larger slow field. For our fragments, first up, Vesper of Refraction. Defeating slowed or frozen targets grants you class ability energy, which means we can dodge more often and have the melee more often. Next, Whisper of Durance. Slow that you apply to targets lasts longer. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also increase. That's a +10 to strength. Next, with Whisper of Shards, shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. And again, we get a stasis crystal with Touch of Winter, and we can also do it with weapons that can come with the perk Headstone, which we'll talk about when we get to weapons and some of those options. Next, Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your position. It's a +10 to resilience and intellect. So again, stasis shards are going to give us our melee back and also give us frost armor, and having them track to us automatically is going to be very nice. Now for your last one, I personally like Whisper of Rime with its rework. Your frost armor has increased duration and maximum stat count. So instead of, ×5 frost armor, you can get up to ×8. But this one isn't absolutely necessary. You could do something like Whisper of Change. So defeating targets while you have frost armor has a chance to create a stasis shard. That's a +10 to resilience. Then also Whisper of Torment, for example. You gain grenade energy each time you take damage from targets, and having frost armor increases the amount of energy gain. That is a -10 to discipline. For your artifact perks, when it comes to the first column for your weapon champion mods, you can use what you like here. We do have some decent stasis bonuses, especially around frost armor. So one with frost, stasis weapons gain increased reload speed and stability. Stasis swords gain increased guard resistance. With Armor of Aramis, while frost armor is active, taking critical damage from combatants causes you to emit a freezing burst around you. And then with something like Crystalline Converter, for example, gather stasis shards. Again, that is where our fragment comes into play. That is going to charge Crystalline Converter. Your next powered stasis melee hit will also create stasis crystals equal to the number of stacks that you have. So that's free stasis crystals right there. Speaking of that, Hail the Storm is back this season. Shattering stasis crystals releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. And then lastly, with Brain Freeze, this one is very good here. So frozen combatants become surrounded by a chilling fog, which slows combatants that aren't already. This is essentially like a mini version of Dust Field. So once a target is frozen, it creates another small dust field around that target. Obviously, it doesn't count toward the grenade or anything like that, but it does help a lot with crowd control. And then any weapons with the Dark Ether or Hydrate perk, which are the new weapons, deal more damage to frozen combatants. For the other ones, we have some great grenade launcher perks. So starting off with Rapid Impacts, dealing damage with a grenade launcher temporarily increases the reload speed of grenade launchers. That leads into concussive reload. So using a grenade launcher to damage a boss, a champion, or break a combatant shield will weaken them. Now this does kind of lead into Power of Pain. I just have this one on. You could switch it out for, Total Carnage if you like, for the finisher bonuses. But with this, rapid final blows against weakened combatants grant you Devour. So you do have the potential to get Devour here. Just depends on the situation. To be honest, a lot of these other artifact perks don't really lead into the build, so I just put on this one. But if you don't want it, that's totally fine. And then lastly, Served Cold. Picking up a stasis shard grants you class ability energy. That's the main one. Picking up a Void Breach grants you melee energy. Doesn't really, do anything for us. It's the stasis shard portion that does. Now that we've talked about the subclass and the artifact working really well together, what weapons can we use that are going to make this even better? Now, I will talk about a variety of weapons, but my personal combination of weapons that I like using is the Wicked Implement with Forbearance and the new Bittersweet Grenade Launcher. With Wicked Implement, not only can I stop Overload and Unstoppable Champions just by hitting precision hits, but with its trait perk Tithing Harvest, as long as the intrinsic is active, destroying stasis crystals or landing precision final blows will create a stasis shard that'll automatically track to me and refill the magazine. Plus, with the Catalyst, it also comes with Headstone, so if I get a precision final blow, that's an automatic stasis crystal right there, and collecting stasis shards gradually overflows the magazine. Plus, this is a free way to create those stasis shards to take advantage of both the subclass and the artifact perks. With Forbearance, I personally like the Vow of the Disciple one with Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction, but if you have the one from Onslaught, if you did Into the Light, stats for all, Chain Reaction, again, this is the catered roll right here. The main reason I'm using a grenade launcher is to take advantage of the artifact perks, having the faster reload, weakening targets that are bosses, champs, or any target that has a shield. This thing is absolutely destructive. It's been a staple weapon to use for ad clear, and it just absolutely destroys. And then lastly, with the new Bittersweet Grenade Launcher, I have a decent roll of it with Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch. I did use this a little bit during the contest mode for the dungeon. I don't have a 5 out of 5 for the perks, but it is pretty good. And any of the artifact perks that give bonuses to the Dark Ether Origin trait weapons, pretty much this grenade launcher can benefit from that. Now, if you're looking for other primary options, if you wanted to go exotic, Vergil's Curve is pretty good. I'm still working on the Catalyst, but being able to create, stasis crystals just from getting kills and precision hits with a bow is absolutely insane. Or any weapon that can come with Headstone is going to be really good. Again, I have the bold endings here from the Pale Heart. I have a crafted Headstone Dragonfly. Even the new hand cannon you can get from the season can come with Headstone, plus Rhyme Stealer as well. This is a new perk. It's great. So destroying a stasis crystal or defeating a frozen target with the weapon grants you 2 frost armor, so that's automatically broken right there. And even though it won't create stasis crystals, being able to use the new seasonal grenade launcher is going to be pretty good as well. It is stasis. Being able to have free ammo pretty much on command just by dealing damage is fantastic as well. But if you want to go the special weapon route, the new Liturgy grenade launcher is pretty good. It can come with Chill Clip and Rhyme Stealer. This is the catered roll that you can get very easily just by doing the story. This thing is absolutely disgusting. I also like the Lost Signal from last season, having auto-loading holster and reverberation. And the area denial frame is just really good for crowd control, or if you have a fusion rifle that can come with Chill Clip as well, that would work here too. In regards to the energy slot and replacing Forbearance, as long as you have a grenade launcher in this section, whether it's a wave frame or not, it's going to benefit from the artifact perks and it's going to be pretty solid. But if you don't have one, you could use something like Indebted Kindness if you'd like. Again, this rocket sidearm is still very, very good. But if you want to use primary weapons, honestly, any arc primary weapon will do here. If you can get your hands on the new Vantage Point Pulse Rifle, it can come with Volt Shot and a new perk that can jolt targets just by, hitting shots on them, which is absolutely insane. If you have an Ikelos, that's going to be good as well. The Centrifuge is a very decent auto, especially this season, being able to blind targets with the explosion. You could then take advantage of something like Trace Evidence and Retinal Burn on the artifact. For heavy weapons, honestly, you can use whatever you'd like here, to be honest. The reason I'm, using Forbearance with Bittersweet is to take advantage of double arc weapon surge, which we'll talk about armor mods here in a bit. But if I wanted to switch this out for another arc weapon, for example, I could use something like Hothead, I could put on Prospector as my exotic, or even something like Grand Overture as well. So there are a variety of options in that department. So if you have a different grenade launcher, say for example you have a Void Energy grenade launcher, I would recommend trying to put on a Void Heavy weapon so it matches your weapon surges. Before diving into armor mods, let's talk about what stats you want to look for. First up, we talk about every video, try to have tier 10 100 resilience. It's going to give you a 30% damage reduction in PvE, which you definitely want to take advantage of. Next up, you definitely want discipline. That is tied to how fast we can get the grenade back, and obviously we want the dust field up as much as possible. After that, focus on mobility. Mobility is actually tied to the hunter's class ability, and again, the more dodges we have means we can get more melees off. For my helmet mods, I'm going with Arc Siphon, so if I get those rapid arc final blows, it'll create an orb of power, and then I'm using Heavy Ammo Finder with Heavy Ammo Scout. On my gauntlets, I'm using double impact induction with focusing strike, so when I deal damage with my powered melee attack, it'll cool down my grenade and my class ability. On the chest piece, I'm rocking Arc Reserves again to pair with my Arc Energy and heavy weapons, but again, you can switch this out for, whatever weapons you decide to use in those slots, and then for your resistance mods, you can use what you like depending on the encounters. On my boots, I'm using Recuperation, so when I pick up Orbs of Power, it gives me health back, which is very nice, and like I said, I'm using double Arc Weapon Surge to pair with my Energy and heavy weapon. Your arc weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Essentially, when you collect Orbs of Power, you'll gain armor charges. With this build in particular, you can have a max of 3 armor charges. And again, with any of these blue mods, it puts a 10-second timer on that armor charge. So with this setup, I can have 30 seconds of that bonus weapon damage. And lastly, on the class ability, I'm using Reaper. So shortly after using my class ability, if I get a weapon final blow, it'll spawn an Orb of Power. With Powerful Attraction, it automatically collects nearby Orbs of Power when I activate my class ability, which means I can proc not only the weapon surges, but also recuperation. So as long as there are orbs near me and I dodge, I can get health back just from that. And then lastly, I'm using Bomber, so it reduces my grenade cooldown when using your class ability. Anytime there's any stasis bonuses on the artifact or any type of buffs that were made to the subclass or certain exotics, it's always super fun to come back to Renewal Grasps. The crowd control on this is absolutely insane. You can take out a variety of champions with this build in particular. You have great crowd control, and if you decide to do the new Onslaught Salvation on Expert, it literally just holds down the fort. The ads barely even make it out of spawn. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my updated Revenant Renewal Grasps build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm actually going to put the dim link for both the Prismatic and Stasis versions of this build in the description. So if you want to copy everything that I'm using, down to the subclass, the armor mods, the weapons, even the drip if you'd like. I know I kind of made it a little ridiculous. I was going kind of crazy with the snowboarder look on this one. But use the build, test out for yourself, and let me know what you guys think. Is there a weapon you like using with this? Is there a fragment or something that you like changing out for this build that you find fun or effective? Just let me know in the comments. In any event, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on any other Destiny builds here on the channel. If you didn't know, we live stream here on YouTube and also over on Twitch. That link will be in the description. We will be doing Vesper's host dungeon help. So if you want help with the dungeon, come by stream, hop in the chat, say something. If we're running it, we can definitely help you out. And if you want to be proactive, join my Discord. We're going to have plenty of people looking to run the dungeon. So if you would like help, whether it's from me or somebody in my community, definitely hop in. And lastly, if you want to help support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. If you don't know what a membership is, it's essentially like a Twitch subscription, but it is technically cheaper. In any event, you do get access to the exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and other cool stuff here on the channel. Mainly being, you can get access to all of my long form videos early. So if you want to see a new Destiny build early, you can get access to it right away when I post it. So if you want more information, all you have to do is press the join button next subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.